that there may be trauma, abuse, major life events, environmental stresses, but ultimately what determines if you are going to get stressed or not is your perception of stress. How you perceive something as either stressful or not. What happens? Somebody on the road tells you, "Illa podi." What has happened? Stress. Now somebody who's in love, especially if they're not yet married, once that happens, the equation changes a bit more. Okay, fine. But you know, these two young kids, college kids, here you find a lot of them, university of them. Vada, poda. It actually helps them secrete feel-good hormones. That poda from the girlfriend or the podi from the boyfriend secretes feel-good hormones, endorphin and enkephalin, not the stress hormones. Why? It is a sign of their affection, it is a sign of their bonding, it is the sign of their belongingness. As opposed to somebody on the road saying, "Poda." God, your adrenaline levels, your cortisol levels are at the peak. So this perceived stress is something that we need to work on, because once you perceive it as a stress, the horse has bolted out of the stable. You have left the dog out. It's already now out. And then the physiological responses that are happening, your body keeps on trying to work. The other day I told you about homeostasis, where your body is trying to maintain normalcy, balance, equilibrium, samatva. Now what happens? The body says the responses are there, but let me still try. So allostasis is your body still trying to maintain normalcy. At one point it gives up. There's one point where it says no use in trying to help you anymore. The allostatic load is so much, at that point disease manifests. But disease manifestation is much later than all of this that has happened before it. And that is why when we talk about Adi and Vyadi, Adi cha Vyadi, the Adi is that part that precedes the Vyadi. And we are normally only looking at the disease. Yesterday I got a package from the Central Council for Yoga. They want me to evaluate some protocols they have made. This is the protocol for diabetes, this is the protocol for asthma, this is the protocol for pregnancy, this is the protocol for weight loss, this is the protocol for old age. And I'm like, again, are we not focusing on the disease rather than what precedes it? The very fact that HbA1c is elevated in 61% of Indian kids, we should start working on that Adi now. Otherwise, in 10 years, 15 years, we're going to have such an epidemic of Vyadi going on because we have not done anything now. Some sort of regulations, both external and internal, have to come. There has to be a ban on certain items. There has to be a regulation on certain items. In India, we don't have regulation on anything. You can buy any drug you want from the pharmacy. It is very surprising when people come from abroad and find that you can buy any antibiotic you want on the pharmacy. You don't even need a doctor's prescription, and again you don't need to buy it for 7 days or 10 days. In no Western country could you have antibiotics less than 7 days, if not 10 days. In India, the standard is 3 days. And you are lucky if they continue for 2 days. No wonder that day we were sitting waiting for the NAC committee. They showed a video on antibiotic resistance. It was frightening, really frightening. So we are working on the Adi part. And this is why when we talk about yoga and yoga therapy, there is again a question, is all yoga not therapeutic? Isn't yoga already therapeutic? Why do you need yoga therapy? Well, as I said in one of the early lessons, yoga can be understood as both being a therapy as well as yoga therapy being a recent offshoot of the yogic tree. You can look at it in two ways. If the original concept of disease is the sense of duality, Dvaitam, yoga has always been therapy. Because yoga wants to remove that sense of duality, that sense of separation. So the goal of yoga is oneness, non-duality. That is Kaivalya, that is Moksha, that is Mukti, that is Samadhi. So if that is the goal, yoga has always been therapeutic. But not in the way we understand it today, that I have a headache, can you give me a pranayama? That is a modern outgrowth of yoga therapy. That is not the original purpose of yoga. The purpose of yoga was kaivalya. But if we understand that not having kaivalya is a disease, then yoga has always been a therapy. So when we talk about yoga, it is a process of integration, or rather reintegration. Because we have moved away from that state of integration which was ease. When you are all integrated, what does integration mean? We talk about people having integrity. A man of integrity, a woman of integrity is a person who says what they think and does what they say. That is what we mean by integrity. Someone who says what they think and does what they say. Which means there is an integration between thought, word and deed. This is where integration comes in. But we say, yes, I want to do yoga. I want to practice yoga, but there is no integration at this level. Then it's not yoga, it's physical exercise. Might as well be playing tennis and enjoy yourself. Why even call it yoga anymore? In modern times, the yoga that is practiced is a disintegrated version of yoga. So one has to be very careful. Because the goal of yoga is integration, reintegration. You could say between the mind and the body. This morning I was telling Ramya and Prabhakar, it is not just lifting your hand into the other gati and doing this, but it is the process of integration that is brought together when your body moves and your mind wants it to move and you are breathing. Mind and body working together and the breath being the bridge. That is why the Pranamaya Kosha lies in between the Manomaya and the Annamaya. Because it is the bridge between both. No breathing, no yoga. Again, no mind, no yoga. There cannot be unconscious yoga. If it is there, it's not yoga anymore. It's physical exercise. You see many people practicing without a sense of consciousness about what they are doing. It may look beautiful, it may look like an asana, it may look like yoga. It is not yoga until integration happens. So when your body and mind are coming together, when that sense of you, I call it the spirit here, that sense of me and the sense of the universe, when I have a sense of integration, you and me are one. Okay, so you transfer all your bank balance to me. Isn't that what modern gurus do? Give me all your money. And I will run away with it before you know what's happening.
For teaching meditation, it is this much.
Yeah,
for teaching pranayama, it is this much.
There's already disintegration there.
Yes.
People talk about yoga and meditation, and I'm like, you're disintegrating it. Then it becomes yoga and pranayama. I'm like, yoga and pranayama, it sounds so odd to me. Next, yoga and asana. No, it will not become yoga and asana because everybody is thinking yoga is asana. So when they say yoga and pranayama, they mean asana and pranayama. When they say yoga and meditation, they mean asana and sitting quietly. It's all one. We have disintegrated it. And this is where the process, today I had someone come, I want to learn meditation. I have a hernia. I'm like, you need to work on many things. But we think it's just something you sit quietly and close your eyes and then I run away with your money while your eyes are closed. This is what's happening. Spirit and universe, that sense of oneness. Instead of thinking you are different than me, instead of thinking, thank God it didn't happen to me, it happened to you. Most of the time, how do we respond? That tragedy in Paris, it's a tragedy. And not just because it's in Paris. Any place such a thing happening is a tragedy. And we have tragedies happening every day these days. And all over the world there are tragedies. But this got its share of sort of the highlight. But a tragedy happening in Paris, what is the first thought that comes to most of us? Thank God it's not Pondicherry. Thank God it's not here. Thank God it's not next door. So, okay, it's only in Paris. There's a flood in Cuddalore. Thank God it's Cuddalore and not Pondicherry. Thank God it's Bangalore, not in here. There's an earthquake in Nepal. Thank God it's in. What we have done is already we have created a sense of separation. We cannot feel for the other person. There is no sense of empathy. The most important humane quality is empathy. To be able to feel something as if you are that person and it is happening to you. no sense of duality there. And as a therapist, you need to be able to have empathy for your patient, client, participant, whatever you want to call them. If you don't have empathy, how can you feel what they are feeling? You have diabetes, okay, thank you very much, thank you, it's not me. Okay, now you do Ardha Matsyatrasana and Vipritha Karani Mudra and do Chandranani Pranayama. Take 3 times food, don't eat sugar. Okay? Thank God it's not me. It's there. Gone. Your yoga is gone and yoga therapy is gone. There's nothing there. At the most, yogopathy. Just apply the principles of allopathy in using instead of diabetic, anti-diabetic medicine, I'm giving you some techniques. That's the only difference between what I'm doing and that. It's yogopathy, it's not yoga therapy. Can you feel for that person? Can you understand their life? Can you understand their thought process? Can you understand what's happening to them from their perspective, and can you help them out of that? Can you give them the tools, the ladder to climb out of that well? Can you give them the tools? But again, remember, they have to climb out. You can only help it. You cannot do it for them. So the empathy part is only to find out how you can help them. You cannot do it for them. There your empathy has to end, and you have to have enough intelligence to know where to end your empathy and where they have to start doing the action. You cannot live their life, but you can understand why they have the problem, give them the tools, motivate them, support them, but they have to walk it themselves. You can be by their side. You can go and say, okay, fine, I'm going to walk along with you. But you cannot walk it for them. They have to walk it. And that is why empathy is a very important aspect, a quality of a yoga therapist, a quality of a yoga teacher, a quality of a good human being. And if you're not a good human being, you cannot be a yoga therapist, no matter what qualification you have. And when I say a good human being, what I mean is someone who has empathy for others. Somebody who has the intelligence to know how to help others and then applies it. A person of integrity who thinks, says and does things in the same pattern. Now that is what yoga is. And yoga therapy gives us the tools to attain that integration or reintegrate ourselves, because we have disintegrated. How do you put your pieces back together? The tools to put them back together. The process of putting them back together, that is yoga therapy. So it is not just replacement of modern medical tools with some asana or some pranayama. And that is why protocols are fine on paper, not in actual practice. But very difficult, because we have adopted the modern medical pattern. As my father used to so often say, even in the 80s, he said modern yoga therapy is Western physiotherapy put in a dhoti. All you have done is change it into from tie coat, tie suit, you have changed it into a dhoti and you call it yoga therapy. We have just, instead of this, let's do this. Instead of having a paracetamol, teach them shavasana. Instead of an antihypertensive, teach them left nostril breathing. That is yogapathy. And it is helpful. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying it doesn't help people. It is better than doing nothing. And that is why I cannot go out and say all of you stop doing it, because even if that is helping people, but don't get confused about what it is. Understand what it is. But it has its own place.